Will the world be facing a global internet outage on the 16th of January? It all started with a clip from the iconic TV show The Simpsons. The clip shows a character which appears to be US President-elect Donald Trump and the words "No Internet" on 16 January 2025.
Behind the humor and unusual family adventures of The Simpsons lies their mysterious ability to predict what will happen in real life. And this has left the world in complete shock time and time again. From foreseeing the 2020 pandemic to political landmarks like Kamala Harris's historic role, The Simpsons have an unparalleled level of foresight. Now, as January 2025 unfolds, prepare to hear everything the show has predicted for the month. The LA fire. The Los Angeles fires in January 2025 sparked some intrigue online.
Devastating fires that have taken such a toll across Los Angeles,
with some pointing to The Simpsons as having foreseen this disaster. A TikTok user shared a clip from season 18, episode 12, titled "Little Big Girl," where Springfield faces a massive wildfire. In the episode, Bart's prank unintentionally triggers a fire that spirals out of control, threatening homes and lives. The uncanny resemblance between the animated scenes and real-life events has fueled conspiracy theories. The current LA's ferocious wildfires have seen an area about 3 times the size of Manhattan incinerated. At least 12,000 homes have burned to the ground, and 150,000 people have been evacuated, as entire neighborhoods become smoldering ruins. 25 people have died. 24 more are missing. Estimates suggest the cost of damage and economic losses could reach $250 billion.
Total damage and economic losses are estimated around $250 billion to $275 billion.
Making it the costliest wildfire in U.S. history, mainly due to the flames torching some of the highest value real estate in the country. And it's not over yet. The city is bracing for further destruction, as weather forecasts suggest winds might pick up again. The TikTok user noted parallels like spreading forest fires, destroyed properties, and firefighters' relentless efforts, leaving us wondering if The Simpsons had predicted yet another calamity. But this wildfire is not only peculiar to LA. Over the recent years, there have been catastrophic reports of wildfires across several regions. In 2023, Canada's fire season was record-breaking and shocking. Over the course of a fire season that started early and ended late, blazes have burned an estimated 18.4 million hectares, an area roughly the size of North Dakota. To add context, on average, just 2.5 million hectares burn in Canada each year. While the total number of reported fires was 6,595 by October, with hundreds of fires exceeding 10,000 hectares, which makes them large enough to be considered megafires. These megafires were also unusually widespread this season, charring forests from British Columbia and Alberta in the west to Quebec and the Atlantic provinces in the east to the Northwest Territories and the Yukon in the north. Greece also had devastating blazes in the summer of 2024 that forced mass evacuations and overwhelmed firefighting efforts.
The Greek wildfire rage. The fire came as Greece experiences what has been called the worst heat wave in more than 3 decades.
In Australia, the lingering scars of the 2019-2020 Black Summer fires is still a clear reminder of wildfire destruction. Experts link the growing frequency and intensity of these disasters to rising global temperatures and prolonged droughts. While human activity often sparks these infernos, the deeper issues lie in environmental mismanagement and the global failure to tackle climate change. As The Simpsons warns, the flames of neglect threaten not just our forests, but the very foundation of our future. Now that's grim, but hold on, because the best part is coming up. Spectre of World War. The Simpsons have often played with themes of geopolitical turmoil, weaving them into satirical yet thought-provoking narratives. Take the Spectre of World War III episode, for example. While Homer's frantic drills about impending doom may have seemed exaggerated, but they mirror today's unnerving reality. The global stage in January 2025 is tense, with events proving the show's accurate warnings. The conflict between Russia and Ukraine grinds on, each day a stark reminder of how fragile peace can be. NATO's support for Ukraine has deepened divisions with Russia, creating a precarious balance that could easily tip into something more catastrophic. Conversations around broader European unrest feel eerily aligned with the scenarios. The South China Sea is still a ticking time bomb. In January 2025, China's aggressive territorial claims over this vital region escalated tensions with its neighbors and drew a firm, militarized response from the United States and its allies. Taiwan remains the most critical flashpoint. Its strategic importance to global trade and military logistics.
Taiwan's record military budget will be spent on personnel and logistics,
turning it into a potential ignition site for a devastating conflict. The fear of confrontation grows as naval drills and close military encounters become more frequent, hinting at how quickly diplomacy could crumble into warfare. In the Middle East and Africa, the specter of conflict is equally dire. Proxy wars rage unchecked, worsened by sectarian divides and battles over dwindling resources. Nations vie for dominance while external powers use these regions as chessboards for influence. The consequences are devastating. Civilian populations are trapped in cycles of violence, poverty, and displacement. With resources becoming scarce, the likelihood of direct military intervention increases, pulling more actors into an already volatile situation. The Simpsons once portrayed war as a distant absurdity in episodes filled with humor and exaggeration. Today, those predictions strike an unsettling chord. The convergence of these global crises paints a chilling picture. War is no longer speculative fiction. It looms as an imminent and terrifying possibility, a warning of the fragile line between peace and chaos. The cost of ignoring these escalating threats could be catastrophic for everyone. By drawing parallels to past predictions, the line between satire and reality feels blurred. Are we unwittingly living the script, or are these just clever coincidences? Either way, it's food for thought. Suppression of green energy. Lisa's solar-powered car, a clever invention in the 582nd episode of The Simpsons, competes in the alternative energy derby. Just as victory seems inevitable, the Duff blimp drifts overhead, casting a shadow that halts her vehicle mere inches from the finish line. Strange timing, isn't it? Does this storyline hint at more than just clever animation? Could it be a sharp commentary on how big corporations sometimes undercut green energy progress? The blimp's interference mirrors real-world scenarios where powerful industries resist change to maintain profit margins, even at the cost of environmental advancements. For years, renewable energy solutions like solar and wind have faced challenges that aren't purely technical.
The amount of renewable energy curtailed, most of it solar, has skyrocketed.
Sometimes the barriers are a deliberate tactic to slow the shift away from fossil fuels. While humorous, The Simpsons delivers a stark commentary on the roadblocks renewable energy advocates face today. The narrative aligns disturbingly well with real-world challenges. Despite breakthroughs in renewable technologies, entrenched interests in the fossil fuel industry work persistently to slow progress. Let's talk about policy influence for a minute. Major oil and gas corporations have spent billions lobbying against renewable-friendly policies. In 2023 alone, fossil fuel companies allocated over $100 million to U.S. political campaigns to ensure the status quo. This influence has led to weakened climate legislation and delayed green energy initiatives globally. Market dynamics also tell a troubling story. Fossil fuel subsidies dwarf those for renewables, with $7 trillion spent worldwide on fossil fuel support in 2022 compared to $1 trillion on clean energy. This financial imbalance skews the energy market, stifling competition and discouraging widespread adoption of sustainable alternatives. Then there's misinformation. Industries reliant on traditional energy have launched campaigns spreading exaggerated fears about renewable costs and reliability. These narratives create hesitation among policymakers and sow doubt among the public, hampering collective action. Still, the tide is shifting. The cost of solar panels has dropped by over 80% in the past decade, while wind energy is becoming a cornerstone of many national grids. Grassroots movements and agreements like the Paris Climate Accord keep hope alive. Yet, As The Simpsons suggests, the shadow of resistance is real and dangerous. Global internet shutdown. This next prediction is actually a chilling claim that has gone viral, asserting that it predicted a catastrophic global internet shutdown on January 16, 2025.
A global internet shutdown will occur on 16th of January 2025, a scenario purportedly predicted by the iconic animated series The Simpsons.
According to the theory, the cause is not a cyber attack or technical failure, but a massive shark severing undersea internet cables, a horrifyingly plausible scenario given the fragility of global internet infrastructure. Undersea cables, responsible for carrying 99% of international data, are alarmingly vulnerable. In reality, these cables have faced threats before, from fishing trawlers, earthquakes, and even shark bites. In 2015, Google reportedly reinforced some of its cables with Kevlar to mitigate shark damage. The idea of a coordinated failure plunging the world into digital darkness is unsettling, but not far-fetched. But before we dive deeper, let's rewind for a moment. On Friday, July 19, 2024, the global internet suffered its largest crash ever, triggered by an update from cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike. Critical infrastructure across industries was disrupted, leaving social media users to ironically celebrate an early weekend. The fallout, however, was severe for companies like CrowdStrike, whose stock plunged 14%, and Microsoft, which saw a 2.4% drop. This wasn't the first such incident. In October 2021, Facebook faced a 6-hour outage due to a maintenance error, disrupting platforms like Instagram and WhatsApp. Financial losses totaled $47.3 billion in market value, with Mark Zuckerberg personally losing $6 billion. Similarly, in June 2021, Fastly, a key content delivery provider, experienced a 1-hour outage caused by a customer's routine settings change. Major sites like the New York Times and CNN went offline, resulting in an estimated $150 million loss for digital platforms. In 2017, British Airways grounded nearly 1,000 flights after a power surge crippled its systems, stranding 75,000 passengers and costing the airline $102 million. Even tech giants like Google aren't immune. A storage issue in December 2020 caused a 45-minute blackout, affecting Gmail, YouTube, and Google Drive. This brief outage cost $1.7 million in ad revenue. Some outages are more sinister, like the 2016 attack on DIN, a DNS provider. A distributed denial of service attack orchestrated by a botnet of infected IoT devices took down services like Twitter and Netflix, highlighting vulnerabilities in internet infrastructure. These incidents underscore how fragile our digital systems are. Whether due to human error, technical glitches, or malicious attacks, the financial and societal impacts are profound. They remind us that in a hyper-connected world, even brief disruptions can ripple into massive consequences, so hopefully, this Simpsons prediction never comes true. If you think this last one is shocking, well, the most shocking revelation is about to unfold: Mars colonization. In the storyline of the episode titled Megan Chronicles, a Mars colonization project was set for 2026, a notion that seemed far-fetched at the time of its airing, but real-world advancements in space exploration have since brought the idea closer to reality, drawing attention to the show's prescient themes. SpaceX, led by Elon Musk, is at the forefront of making Mars colonization a tangible goal. Musk envisions establishing a sustainable human settlement on Mars, citing its potential as a backup for humanity in the event of catastrophic Earth events. SpaceX's development of the fully reusable Starship, capable of carrying humans and cargo to the Red Planet, has transformed science fiction into actionable science. The company aims to conduct its first crewed mission to Mars in the late 2020s, aligning eerily with the Simpsons timeline. Meanwhile, other organizations like NASA are actively preparing for human exploration of Mars. NASA's Artemis program is a precursor to Mars missions, focusing on developing life support systems and habitats for long-term use in space. Private ventures such as Mars One, though ultimately unsuccessful, highlighted public interest in interplanetary colonization, echoing the Simpsons' depiction of human ambition.
I have questions about the end of the story of Moses. So, okay, if there is a historical Moses, where is this guy? I mean, where was he buried?
According to the biblical tradition, he ended on the other side of the valley.
And he dies where?
At Mount Nebo.
The fact that a man like Moses, who holds significance in not just Christianity but other religions, died and his burial place was hidden, is a mystery that has puzzled the minds of people for centuries.
What is at this site?
Here at this site, we have the tomb of Moses.
There's a tomb here?
Yeah.
Of Moses?
Yes.
This is why the moment these scientists stumbled upon this 2,000-year-old tomb, many of them were overcome with emotion as they stood in disbelief before the sealed tomb of Moses. But what exactly lies inside this ancient tomb? What secrets have been preserved for millennia, untouched by time? Join us as we look into the mysteries surrounding this extraordinary discovery and whether what they discovered confirms what we already know. Significance of Moses' life. Scientists led by Josh Gates were deeply emotional when they announced what seemed impossible: the discovery of Moses' sealed tomb, untouched for thousands of years. The reason why they went emotional might not really make sense to you until you know the kind of person who Moses was. Before understanding why this discovery affected the scientists so much, it's important to look back at Moses' remarkable life. So let's do that. Moses is a central figure in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, three of the world's largest religions. He was born in ancient Egypt during a time when the pharaoh ordered the death of all newborn Hebrew boys to control their population. In a desperate move, his mother placed him in a basket and sent him down the Nile River, hoping to save his life. Moses was found by Pharaoh's daughter, who adopted him and raised him in the royal palace. But things took an interesting turn from here. Despite growing up with the privileges of royalty, Moses always remembered his Hebrew roots. When he was 40, he killed an Egyptian who was beating a Hebrew slave, forcing him to flee Egypt to avoid punishment. Moses lived quietly in the land of Midian for 40 years, where he married Zipporah, the daughter of a local priest, and worked as a shepherd. However, his life changed dramatically when he encountered a burning bush on Mount Horeb, Mount Sinai, where God spoke to him and told him to return to Egypt to free the Israelites from slavery. Moses returned to Egypt, and with the help of his brother Aaron, demanded that Pharaoh let the Israelites go. When Pharaoh refused, God sent a series of 10 plagues to punish Egypt, from turning the Nile into blood to sending swarms of locusts and covering the land in darkness. The final plague, the death of every firstborn son, including Pharaoh's, finally convinced the Pharaoh to release the Israelites. Before the final plague struck Egypt, Moses gave the Israelites a key instruction: mark their doorposts with lamb's blood. This act would protect them from the angel of death, which would pass over their homes and spare their firstborn children. This act of faith led to the establishment of Passover, a central tradition in Jewish life. When Pharaoh's own son died in the final plague, he finally gave in and allowed the Israelites to leave Egypt. This moment, around 1250 BC, marked the start of the Exodus. Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt toward the Promised Land, but soon after, Pharaoh regretted his decision and sent his army after them. Trapped between the Red Sea and Pharaoh's forces, the Israelites were desperate, but once again, God intervened. Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the waters parted, creating a path for the Israelites to escape. As they crossed to safety, the waters closed in on the Egyptian army, drowning them and securing the Israelites' freedom. With Egypt behind them, Moses led the Israelites through the harsh desert. Their journey was long and difficult. At Mount Sinai, God gave Moses the 10 Commandments, which became the foundation of Jewish law. Despite these divine signs, the Israelites often struggled with faith and disobedience, resulting in 40 years of wandering in the desert. During this time, Moses continued to guide them, settling disputes and teaching them God's laws. Miracles followed, like manna from heaven to feed them and water drawn from a rock. As the 40 years drew to a close, Moses was allowed to see the promised land from the top of Mount Nebo. However, because of a previous act of disobedience at the waters of Meribah, Moses was not allowed to enter. All of these backstories should now help you understand why his place of burial is hidden in such a deep mystery. So let's look at how the tomb was discovered. Discovering the tomb. According to the Bible, Moses died on Mount Nebo, and God buried him in a secret place around 1271 BC. The mystery of Moses' burial has intrigued people for centuries because of his importance, as we have already talked about. And if a reader of the first 4 books of the Torah still has any doubts about Moses' paramount importance to Israel's history, the book of Deuteronomy makes it undeniably clear. Now, fast forward to the present. Josh Gates and his team may have discovered Moses' long-lost tomb. One site of particular interest is Nabi Musa, nestled in the Judean desert near the Dead Sea. For centuries, this site has held religious significance, especially in Islamic tradition, where Moses, known as Musa in Arabic, is revered as a prophet. Muslims believe Nabi Musa to be his final resting place. The site has deep connections to Moses, who is mentioned more times in the Quran than any other prophet. His story in Islam shares many similarities with the biblical account: his birth, his escape from Pharaoh's decree, and his role in leading the Israelites out of Egypt.
You shall see hail fall from a clear sky and burn as fire upon the ground.
The Nabi Musa site became a place of religious importance around 1269 AD, and ever since, it has been associated with Moses' final chapter in Islamic tradition.
Then in the distance you see Nabi Musa.
Nabi Musa.
Nabi Musa is a mosque which is 700 years old. It's kind of fortified to keep from intruders from coming in.
The connection between this sacred site and the biblical Moses continues to captivate scholars and believers alike. During the Mamluk Sultanate, Sultan Baybars established the shrine and mosque at Nabi Musa to honor the prophet Moses. This act was more than just a sign of respect. It cemented the site's importance in Islamic tradition. The construction of the shrine initiated a centuries-old pilgrimage tradition, a practice that continues to this day. One of the most significant events tied to the site is the annual Nabi Musa festival, a pilgrimage from Jerusalem to the shrine. The festival is traditionally linked to the celebration of Laylat al-Miraj, commemorating the Prophet Muhammad's night journey and ascension to heaven. This vibrant festival demonstrates the lasting legacy of Moses in Islamic thought, as pilgrims honor his life by visiting this sacred place. Nabi Musa is not just a historical site, as we can see, but it is a physical and spiritual link to the story of Moses. Architecturally, it reflects the medieval Islamic style, featuring a mosque, shrine, and accommodations for pilgrims, all preserved and restored over the centuries. The shrine itself is simple but majestic, offering a quiet space for reflection amid the stark desert landscape, which only adds to its mystical aura. But is Nabi Musa really Moses' final resting place? Other sites, such as Jebel Harun, also claim to hold this honor. Located near Petra in modern-day Jordan, Jebel Harun is believed to be the burial place of Moses' brother Aaron. Some suggest that Moses himself could be buried nearby, making this mountain a site of great religious and historical significance. Jebel Harun, or Aaron's Mountain, rises 4,500 feet above sea level, towering over the Petra region. This site has drawn pilgrims for centuries, attracting Jews, Christians, and Muslims, each with their own traditions tied to the sacred peak. At the summit stands a white-domed mosque built in the 14th century, marking Aaron's believed resting place. The journey to the top is challenging and requires stamina, but for those who reach it, the reward is more than the stunning views of the Petra landscape. It's the profound sense of spiritual connection to a place of deep historical and religious importance. The mosque on Jebel Harun, with its simple yet striking white dome, marks the spot where Aaron, the brother of Moses, is believed to be buried. The modest structure consists of a single room and a small courtyard, but its religious significance far outweighs its size. Jebel Harun is revered in Jewish, Christian, and Muslim traditions as Aaron's resting place. According to the Torah, Aaron died and was buried at a location referred to as Mount Hor or Mosera, though interpretations vary. The Jewish historian Josephus, in the 1st century AD, identified the mountain near Petra as Mount Hor, the site of Aaron's death. This belief was later embraced by Christians, who built a Byzantine monastery there, establishing it as a pilgrimage destination. In Islamic tradition, Aaron, known as Harun, is also highly revered. He is acknowledged in the Quran as a prophet who aided his brother Musa, Moses, in leading the Israelites. The current mosque, built during the Mamluk era in the early 14th century, stands atop the mountain as a sacred place for Muslims. However, long before the mosque, a Christian monastery stood here, offering refuge for travelers and pilgrims. Today, the ruins of that monastery can still be seen near the peak, a testament to the mountain's long history as a holy site. The interior of the mosque is simple, with a small room beneath the dome serving as a shrine to Aaron. An inscription above the door notes the mosque's last renovation in 1320 AD, maintaining the modest charm that invites visitors to reflect on the site's spiritual importance. Another significant location often associated with Moses is Mount Nebo, widely regarded as his final resting place. Mount Nebo, located in Jordan and rising about 2,300 feet above sea level, is rich with biblical history. According to the Bible, it was from this mountain that Moses was granted a view of the promised land, though he would not enter it. Instead, it is said that Moses died on Mount Nebo, with his burial site left a mystery. From the summit of Mount Nebo, one can take in breathtaking views of the Jordan River Valley, with the West Bank and, on clear days, even the city of Jerusalem visible in the distance. This panorama offers a sense of what Moses might have seen during his final moments. Over the centuries, Mount Nebo has remained a destination for pilgrims, adding to its deep religious and historical significance. Nearby lies the ancient town of Nebo, further enriching the site's sacred legacy. Mount Nebo's significance is made clearer in the book of Deuteronomy, as mentioned before, where it is described that Moses ascended the mountain, viewed the promised land of Canaan, and then passed away, leaving behind a legacy that would echo through millennia. To commemorate this sacred moment, a Christian church was built at the summit during the Byzantine era. Discovered during explorations in the 1930s, the site revealed a rich history beneath its soil. The church, originally constructed in the 4th century in the typical basilica pattern, was expanded in the 6th century. 6 tombs, carved into the rock beneath the church's mosaic floor, added to the site's enigma. Mount Nebo's enduring importance was highlighted in 2000 when Pope John Paul II visited the summit during his pilgrimage to the Holy Land. He planted an olive tree next to the Byzantine chapel, symbolizing peace and reflecting the mountain's spiritual history. 9 years later, Pope Benedict XVI followed suit, delivering a speech and admiring the same landscape that Moses might have seen. A modern addition to the site is a striking serpentine cross sculpture created by Italian artist Gian Paolo Fantoni. This artwork symbolizes both the bronze serpent invoked by Moses in the wilderness and the cross of Jesus, blending two powerful symbols of faith and redemption. Mount Nebo is also mentioned in the second book of Maccabees, where it is written that the prophet Jeremiah hid the tabernacle and the Ark of the Covenant in a cave on the mountain. This has led to centuries of speculation about hidden treasures still concealed there. The idea gained further attention when amateur archaeologist Ron Wyatt claimed to have found evidence supporting this theory. Despite Mount Nebo being the most widely accepted location for Moses' burial, the exact site of his grave remains unknown. This mystery captured the imagination of explorer Josh Gates, who embarked on an ambitious journey to uncover possible alternate burial sites. One area that caught his attention was the Sea of Galilee, a region steeped in biblical history. In 2018, Gates and his team set out on an expedition, meticulously planning to search for underwater sites or hidden structures around the Sea of Galilee, hoping to find clues to the long-lost tomb of Moses. With the latest technology at their disposal, Josh Gates and his team were prepared to explore the depths of the Sea of Galilee and its surrounding terrain in their quest to uncover the long-lost tomb of Moses.
You could look down into the Sea of Galilee and see this bump. Is there anything else like this that rises up out of the lake here?
Their first tool was satellite imagery, which allowed them to analyze the terrain and pinpoint areas that matched descriptions from ancient texts. This technique gave them a detailed understanding of the region before they even began the physical search. If you enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to leave a like, share it with your family and friends, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our next updates. Also, click the next video on your screen to enjoy more exciting content.
Some of this morning's headlines now from around the globe. USA Today has good news for all know the Simpsons live in Springfield, and then the Oregonian reports their hometown is based on Springfield, Oregon. Simpsons creator Matt Groening grew up not far from there. He was inspired by another television show set in a town called Springfield.
The Simpsons show is like a crystal ball for the future. Over the years, this iconic series has dropped predictions that seemed absurd at the time, but later turned into real-world headlines.
This is Kent Brockman reporting to you on a crisis so serious it has its own name and theme music. The dome has put an end to life as we know it. The town is running low on supplies of everything from gasoline to Botox.
From tech gadgets we now can't live without to shocking global tragedies, The Simpsons has been right all along. But among the countless prophecies, some stand out as the most historical. Which of the show's prophecies fall into this category? In this video, we will reveal the top 20 predictions of The Simpsons. Don Mattingly's hair. In 1992, The Simpsons aired an episode titled Homer at the Bat.
In 1992, Don Mattingly appeared on an episode of The Simpsons called Homer at Bat,
which became a classic partly because of its humor and its lineup of famous baseball players from the time. One standout moment involved Don Mattingly getting benched by Mr. Burns for refusing to trim his sideburns, even though he clearly didn't have any. The joke worked so well because of how absurd it was, but what made it even more interesting was how closely it mirrored something from Mattingly's real life. In 1991, Mattingly found himself in trouble with the Yankees because of his hair. The team had strict grooming rules, and Mattingly's longer hair didn't fit the look they wanted. He was fined, and even removed from the roster briefly for not cutting it. He eventually agreed to get a haircut, but the whole situation became a talking point. What makes this connection so fascinating is that the Simpsons episode was recorded before Mattingly's real-life hair drama. The coincidence added another layer to the joke and made it even more memorable for fans. This is just one of many accurate predictions. Stay tuned to find out more.
Mattingly, get rid of those sideburns.
What sideburns?
You heard me, hippie. Mattingly, for the last time, get rid of those sideburns.
Look, Mr. Burns.
NSA spying. In The Simpsons show, the family escapes an angry mob in Springfield after Homer's actions lead to the town being sealed under a giant dome. They flee to Alaska, but Marge and the kids decide to return to help save Springfield. On their way back, there's a moment that stands out. Lisa reassures Marge, saying the government isn't listening to everyone's conversations, only for the scene to cut to a massive NSA surveillance operation tracking their every word. It's played for laughs, but feels eerily close to reality. Years later, in 2013, Edward Snowden revealed the extent of the NSA's surveillance programs. These programs were designed to monitor communications globally, gathering data from phone calls, emails, and more. The public was shocked by how widespread this monitoring was. What makes this Simpsons moment so striking is how it mirrored real concerns about privacy and government surveillance before they became widely known. This scene went from a clever joke to something that hit much closer to home once Snowden's revelations came to light. Canadian legalizing marijuana. In the 2005 episode Midnight RX, Homer and his friends head to Canada to buy cheaper medication, but the trip takes an unexpected turn when Ned Flanders meets his Canadian counterpart. At first, the two bond over their wholesome personalities, but things quickly change when the Canadian version of Ned casually offers him marijuana, calling it legal here. The real Ned is horrified and immediately calls him a satanic temptation before storming off. At the time, this scene was nothing more than a joke, as marijuana was still illegal in Canada except for medical use. Fast forward to 2018, and Canada made headlines by passing the Cannabis Act.
The Cannabis Act may officially roll out tomorrow, but that doesn't mean New Yorkers can drive over the border and legally purchase recreational pot from a dispensary.
Fully legalizing marijuana for recreational use across the country. This decision made Canada one of the first major countries to take such a step. What started as a humorous jab on The Simpsons ended up being a reality years later. The joke about legal marijuana in Canada suddenly felt like a moment where fiction aligned with real-world changes in surprising ways. Zombie apocalypse. In Treehouse of Horror XX, The Simpsons imagined a zombie apocalypse triggered by a food disaster. The chaos began with a product called Burger Square, created from cannibalistic cows. When Kent Brockman took a bite, he transformed into a mindless, ravenous creature, spreading the infection throughout Springfield. The town quickly fell into chaos, with residents turning into zombies driven by insatiable hunger. The Simpson family fought to survive, with Bart proving to be mysteriously immune to the outbreak. While zombies may seem unrealistic, the concept of a food-related crisis is not. Foodborne illnesses, unsafe farming practices, and risky food production methods have shown how fragile the global food supply can be. Outbreaks of E. coli, salmonella, and other deadly pathogens have already caused widespread concern. The episode also highlighted how panic spreads when food safety is compromised, creating a domino effect of fear and chaos. Cypress Hill meets Symphony. If you look back at the 1996 episode titled Homerpalooza, you'll see that The Simpsons took a playful jab at music festival culture, featuring a scene where a producer asks if anyone ordered the London Symphony Orchestra. He then turns to Cypress Hill, a hip-hop group, and the band jokingly decides to collaborate. What follows is a surreal mix of insane in the brain with classical music, which even Marge enthusiastically approves of. The scene's humor lies in the absurdity of pairing a hip-hop act with a world-renowned orchestra, something that felt like pure parody at the time. Fast forward to 2024, and reality caught up with fiction. Cypress Hill, known for their iconic sound, announced a performance with the London Symphony Orchestra at the Royal Albert Hall in England. This wasn't their first time combining hip-hop with classical music, as they had worked with orchestras in the US before. The Simpsons' comedic take on this unlikely pairing ended up foreshadowing an actual event, proving once again how the show has a knack for turning what seems improbable into reality. Gaga's flight. In 2012, The Simpsons aired an episode called Lisa Goes Gaga, where Lady Gaga visits Springfield to boost the town's spirits. During her performance, she wears a silver outfit and uses cables to fly above the crowd.
Lady Gaga get her inspiration for her Super Bowl halftime show from, of all things, The Simpsons? With uncanny accuracy, 4 years ago, the show actually predicted she'd fly through the air. Just look at the similarities from the 2012 episode.
Showcasing her over-the-top style. The scene, full of humor and exaggeration, fit perfectly with Gaga's reputation for bold, theatrical performances. At the time, it felt like a fun parody of her unique stage presence and creative costumes. 5 years later, reality mirrored animation during Lady Gaga's Super Bowl halftime show. Dressed in a sparkling silver outfit and boots, she started her performance perched high above the stadium. With cables supporting her, she descended onto the stage, creating a dramatic entrance that felt straight out of her Simpsons appearance. The resemblance between the show and her real-life performance was hard to ignore, especially with the similar use of cables and costumes. What began as a playful take on Gaga's celebrity life turned into a surprisingly accurate depiction of one of her most iconic moments: Trump's presidency. The Simpsons once aired an episode in 2000 that imagined a future where Lisa became the President of the United States. During her presidency, she faced a significant financial crisis passed down from her predecessor, who happened to be President Trump. In the scene, Lisa meets with her team to discuss the financial situation, and it's revealed that the country is completely out of money. This moment stood out as a playful jab at politics, but gained new meaning when Donald Trump actually won the presidency in 2016. Bart's future in the same episode was a sharp contrast to Lisa's. He was depicted as a middle-aged slacker, still aimless, and living with Ralph Wiggum. While Bart struggled to get his life together, Lisa had risen to the highest office in the town, taking on responsibilities that included cleaning up after Trump's administration. When Trump's election became a reality, The Simpsons responded with a chalkboard gag reflecting their surprise at being right. solidifying the episode as one of their most memorable predictions. AI taking over jobs. Mr. Burns decided to replace his power plant workers with robots in one episode in 2012, leaving Homer and his co-workers without jobs. The robots, trained by humans, quickly proved they could handle the tasks more efficiently, making the employees obsolete. What seemed like an amusing exaggeration at the time now feels more like a glimpse into reality. By 2025, artificial intelligence is transforming industries at an incredible pace. Restaurants in countries like Japan are using robots to serve meals, while self-driving cars are beginning to take over the role of taxi drivers. AI tools are being used in areas like coding, graphic design, and even financial analysis, replacing traditional roles. Programs such as ChatGPT have become essential for businesses looking to save money, often at the expense of human jobs. The idea of machines reshaping the workforce is no longer fiction. It is becoming part of daily life. The most amazing part of the video is just ahead: Nobel Prize in Economics. The Nobel Prize announcements took center stage in a 2010 episode of The Simpsons. During a scene where Lisa and her friends are watching the ceremony, Martin celebrates as his pick in the economics category wins. The betting table reveals Milhouse's bet on a specific economist, Bengt R. Holmstrom. At the time, this felt like a fun, fictional moment, but in 2016, it became a surprising reality. Holmstrom, alongside Oliver Hart, was awarded the Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences for their groundbreaking work on contract theory.
This year's Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences has been awarded to British-born Oliver Hart and Finland-born Bengt Holmstrom for their contributions to contract theory.
The episode's prediction was one of those wild, almost impossible-to-believe moments where the show seemed to foresee a future Nobel winner. While the episode took a lighthearted approach to the prestigious awards, it turned out that Milhouse's choice was right on the money. This wasn't just another random joke. It became a true instance of fiction aligning with reality, leaving fans in disbelief at the show's accuracy. FIFA controversy. In the Simpsons episode You Don't Have to Live Like a Referee, the show took aim at FIFA with a satirical look at corruption within international soccer. The plot featured corrupt officials being arrested, humorously highlighting the bribery and scandal that had long plagued the sport. Just a few years after the episode aired in 2014, real-life FIFA executives were arrested on similar charges, proving how on point the show's predictions were. As we reach 2025, FIFA is still tangled in controversy. The aftermath of the 2018 and 2022 World Cup bids continues to stir debates about fairness, transparency, and ethical practices in the sport. The show even predicted Brazil's heavy loss to Germany in the 2014 World Cup semifinals, making its mix of humor and reality even more uncanny. Homer's stand against bribery was a humorous moment, but it also highlights the difficulty of keeping the sport free from scandal in the real world. Daenerys's rampage. The final season of Game of Thrones got people talking for all the wrong reasons.
The soothsayers at The Simpsons have done it again. This time, they correctly predicted the ending to the most recent episode of Game of Thrones.
One of the most shocking moments was Daenerys Targaryen's turn in the episode The Bells. With her dragon Drogon, she destroys King's Landing, turning it into ashes. Fans were stunned by how fast her character changed, but the scene also reminded some of a moment from The Simpsons. In 2017, 2 years before this Game of Thrones episode aired, The Simpsons released The Surfsons, a parody of fantasy stories. In the episode, Homer brings a dragon back to life. Soon after, the dragon goes on a rampage, flying over the town and setting everything on fire. The chaos left behind looked a lot like what happened in King's Landing. Fans noticed how closely the two scenes matched: a dragon, fire raining down, and a town in ruins. Some even joked that Game of Thrones writers might have been inspired by The Simpsons. The timing of the two moments made this comparison hard to ignore and gave fans another thing to talk about: Disney buying Fox. Disney buying Fox was one of the biggest deals in entertainment history, but The Simpsons had already hinted at it years earlier. In an episode where Homer takes on a bizarre new job, he befriends Kim Basinger, Alec Baldwin, and Ron Howard. Acting as their assistant, Homer pitches a strange movie idea about a killer robot driving instructor who travels back in time. While the idea gets plenty of laughs, the real standout moment comes when Ron Howard takes the screenplay to 20th Century Fox. In a quick shot of the Fox studio lot, there's a sign above the entrance that reads, "A division of Walt Disney Company." At the time, it seemed like a clever joke, but fast forward to 2019, and Disney officially purchased 20th Century Fox. This deal made Disney the owners of major franchises and, of course, The Simpsons. Fans were quick to remember this episode after the merger. Once again, The Simpsons had made an unlikely prediction that actually came true, adding to its reputation for eerily accurate moments. Horse meat scandal. In 2013, Europe faced a major scandal when horse meat was found in food products that were labeled as beef. The controversy shook the food industry, with investigations revealing how widespread the issue was. Shockingly, this bizarre moment in history was hinted at years earlier in an episode of The Simpsons. In the 1994 episode Sweet Seymour Skinner's Badass Song, Santa's little helper causes chaos after being brought to school by Bart for show and tell. The real twist comes when the dog finds himself in the school kitchen. While sniffing around, viewers catch a quick shot of lunch lady Doris cooking with a container labeled horse meat. The label even mentions extra intimate pieces, with a cheeky comment about iron content. At the time, the gag seemed like a funny exaggeration about cafeteria food, but years later, the real-life horse meat scandal gave the joke a strange new meaning. People couldn't help but point out how The Simpsons had once again joked about something long before it made headlines. The Godfather Part 3. The Simpsons loved making fun of movies, and they didn't miss the chance to take a shot at The Godfather Part 3. In the 2001 episode Worst Episode Ever, Bart and Milhouse sneak into comic book guy's secret collection of movies. Among the strange titles, there was one that grabbed attention. It was called Godfather 3 Good Version. This playful dig was aimed at the third film in the famous trilogy, which many fans felt was not as strong as the first two. Years later, in 2020, Paramount decided to revisit the movie. They released The Godfather Coda, The Death of Michael Corleone, a re-edited version of the 1990 film. Francis Ford Coppola worked on this new version, and Al Pacino also showed his support for it. They believed the updated cut gave the movie a fresh perspective and solved some of its earlier problems. Fans seemed to appreciate this new take on the story, and some even said it felt closer to the level of the first two films. We bet that at this point, you're on the edge of your seat, and the predictions are about to get more shocking. Springfield legalizes gambling. Springfield decided to legalize gambling to boost its economy, and soon, Mr. Burns opened his own casino. One of the big attractions at the casino was a magician duo called Gunther and Ernst, who performed with a white tiger named Anastasia. During one of their shows, Anastasia suddenly remembers her capture and her life in the wild. This flashback sets her off, and she attacks Gunther and Ernst right in the middle of their performance. This scene was a clear parody of Siegfried and Roy, the famous duo known for their magic shows with white lions and tigers. Sadly, about a decade after this episode aired, a similar incident happened in real life. While performing at the MGM Grand, Roy was attacked by a 400-pound Siberian tiger named Manticore. The attack left him with severe injuries, forcing him to retire. Though he survived, the incident marked the end of their live performances and remains one of the most talked about moments in entertainment history. Space travel. In a 1999 episode of The Simpsons, Richard Branson's spaceflight was predicted long before it actually happened. During the episode, Homer and Lisa travel to Puerto Rico to prove that a painting Homer bought for just $20 isn't a fake. While talking to an art forger named Klaus Ziegler, the show briefly cuts to Richard Branson in space. At the time, private space travel was something people only dreamed about. This quick moment happened 7 years before Branson's actual Virgin Galactic flight in 2021. The show didn't make a big deal out of the cutaway, but it's clear now that they were showing a glimpse of the future of space travel. Branson's mission was the start of a new chapter in space tourism, something that seemed impossible back then. What makes this prediction interesting is how The Simpsons slipped it in so casually, with no fanfare. It wasn't the focus of the episode, yet it turned out to be right about Branson's space journey years before it happened. Faulty voting machines. In a 2008 Halloween episode of The Simpsons, Homer tries to vote for Barack Obama in the presidential election, but the voting machine keeps registering his vote for John McCain. As Homer struggles with the machine, he gets frustrated and says, "This machine is rigged. Must tell President McCain this doesn't happen in America." While this was a funny and over-the-top moment in the show, it turned out to be eerily similar to real-life events during the 2012 presidential election. In that election, footage surfaced of a voter trying to cast a vote for Obama, but the machine would select Mitt Romney instead. The situation in Ohio was widely reported, with many noticing the strange resemblance to Homer's voting machine problem. The episode was fictional, but it seemed to predict the kind of glitches that could happen with electronic voting machines. It was an unexpected prediction of a real issue in the election, showing how The Simpsons can sometimes capture future events in the most unexpected ways. Smartwatches. Back in 1995, an episode of The Simpsons gave viewers a glimpse of the future through Lisa's story. In this episode, Lisa, as an adult in 2010, finds herself in a world where technology has evolved in surprising ways. Among these changes, two standout moments caught attention. First, when Lisa calls her mom, Marge, it's through a video phone. Marge, unprepared for being seen, reacts hilariously, forgetting how the camera works. It's a fun twist that highlighted how such technology could feel new and unfamiliar. Another interesting detail is during Hugh's proposal to Lisa. Instead of pulling out a traditional ring box or going down on one knee, he uses a sleek, smart device that resembles today's smartwatches. This tiny gadget is not just a watch, but also a communication tool, combining convenience with technology in a way that felt ahead of its time. Both moments gave a creative nod to innovations we now take for granted, showing how such ideas felt futuristic decades ago. These scenes are fun reminders of how far we've come. There's more to find out. Late Beatle post. Marge Simpson's artistic journey took an unexpected turn in brush with greatness. Her love for painting seemed unstoppable until she mailed a portrait of Ringo Starr, hoping for his thoughts. Years went by with no reply, and Marge slowly lost her drive to create. The canvas sat untouched as she moved on with her life, her passion buried under the weight of silence. Decades later, something very shocking happened. Ringo, while sorting through old fan mail, stumbled upon Marge's forgotten artwork. Moved by her effort, he penned a heartfelt note, praising her talent and even hanging the portrait on his wall. That small gesture reignited Marge's creativity, proving how impactful recognition can be, even years later. Interestingly, this moment mirrored a real-life story. In 1963, two fans sent a taped message to the Beatles that never reached them. More years after, the recording surfaced and made its way to Paul McCartney in 2013. He responded warmly, closing a loop that had been open for 50 years. The parallels between these tales highlight the timeless power of connection and gratitude. World War III.
Wake up, everybody! It's World War III! Quick, down to the fallout shelter. The bombs are dropping!
In the year 2000, The Simpsons aired an episode that depicted a grim future, imagining the outbreak of World War III. The episode showed chaos everywhere as people ran for safety while bombs rained down. What once seemed like an exaggerated scenario now feels eerily close to reality. Global tensions are higher than ever, with ongoing conflicts such as the war between Russia and Ukraine and unrest across the Middle East fueling division. Major powers like the United States, China, and Russia remain locked in a complex web of alliances and rivalries, making the idea of a large-scale war less far-fetched. The episode also featured Lisa Simpson as president, stepping into office after Donald Trump. Her struggles to manage a crumbling budget served as a commentary on the challenges of leadership during times of crisis. The world in 2025 seems to mirror some of these elements, with economic instability, political unrest, and rising global tensions, creating a sense of unease that feels uncomfortably familiar to the show's prediction. When that was out of the way, she warmly greets the actor before revealing that her mother had a crush on Tom Cruise 30 years ago and playfully admits that she shares the same admiration for the actor. Upon hearing this, Cruise responded in a lighthearted and jesting manner, telling her he hopes her dad is okay with both his wife and daughter having a crush on him. Cruise's humorous reply has gone viral on social media, earning the actor more points for being friendly and easygoing. The internet is excited, as people can't get enough of his witty retort as he blushes at the comments made by the woman. Since being shared, the post has garnered an impressive 2.8 million views and received 4.7 likes. One user affectionately described Tom as a generational crush, while another user playfully noted that Tom has become a villain for the woman's dad. Grace also attached a long caption to the video, describing how she had the sweetest moment with Tom Cruise at his Mission Impossible 7 premiere.
Cheers and applause coming from a Mission Impossible movie. After all, there are over-the-top action sequences and special effects, but the cheers and applause coming from a screening of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part.
She pointed out how much meeting the star meant to her because she had loved him as an actor and his movies since high school. His undivided attention to listen to her story, him reaching out to squeeze her hand gently, it all made her feel like she was the only person there. She also added that he returned to her to check that she had taken the perfect photo of them after he had already moved on to other fans. That's not all. Another Instagram user commended her for sharing her story before such a legendary figure, expressing admiration for Tom's attentive and classy demeanor. Knowing how busy celebrities always were at events like the one Grace had met Tom, fans were amazed at the actor's choice to give Grace as much attention as she needed. Someone else praised Tom for his listening skills and explained why he is indeed a movie star. Being able to listen wasn't just a good trait in acting, but in a person's day-to-day life, and fans of the actor were glad to know his good qualities weren't just for the camera. A fifth user humorously shared that they would have been speechless if they were in her shoes, forgetting how to speak in front of Tom. But then, who wouldn't be? Another user humorously added, "My man stole both the generations," appreciating Tom's timeless charm. Grace's affection towards the actor was seen as natural due to the fact that almost every woman on the planet has had and still has a crush on Tom, but hearing about her mother's crush fascinated the fans. A 30-year-long crush was all that was needed to solidify Tom's charm and ability to make women swoon over him. Not long after the meeting with Grace, Tom surprised moviegoers at theaters in several locations, greeting fans who showed up to see the latest installment in his popular action franchise, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, and it's, I really do encourage people to see it on a big screen because the sound, the colors, the immersive experience and communal and community experience is there for everyone.
Thanking fans for being there for the screening, Cruise added, as seen in video footage shared by the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, that he knows the fans definitely dream of moments like this, and it felt amazing for him to be a part of it. He also told them he hopes they enjoy the film because the main reason it was made was for them, his fans. Tom's interactions with his fans has made the actor well known and deeply loved all over the world, as his fans always keep hope alive that they will one day get to meet their favorite star. The ones that have already been lucky enough to meet him hope to be able to do so again, and this time around, get to maybe have coffee or even a drink with him. Being loved as a movie star and as an individual appears to be a big feat for Tom Cruise, and his ever-loyal fan base can't agree less. Contrary to what is widely believed about fame changing a person, Tom has proven to be the opposite. But how did he get to become such a popularly known and loved superstar with such a strong fan base? Stay tuned, because this next part is sure to keep you glued to your screens. Tom Cruise, the man and his fame. Dating back to the 1980s, Tom Cruise has been one of the most prominent movie stars in all of Hollywood. After developing an interest in acting during high school, he rocketed to fame with his turns in Risky Business and Top Gun, earning himself a place in the big leagues. Cruise has since become an action movie veteran, counting the Mission Impossible franchise, Edge of Tomorrow, and Top Gun Maverick among his many successes. The four-time Oscar nominee has also earned acclaim for his performance in Born on the 4th of July, Jerry Maguire, and Magnolia. Off the silver screen, Cruise is one of the most high-profile members of the Church of Scientology and has been married to fellow actors Nicole Kidman and Katie Holmes. But who was Cruise before all these happened? Let's dive deeper into the life of the movie star. Thomas Cruise Mapother IV, better known as Tom Cruise, was born on July 3, 1962, in Syracuse, New York. The third of four children, Tom was the only son of Mary Lee South and Thomas Cruise Mapother III. Which of these predictions do you think is most accurate? Let us know what you think in the comments section. Do not forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Click on the next video displayed on your screen. You will enjoy it.